Imagine carrying the hopes of an entire nation on your shoulders at just 17 years old. Imagine stepping onto the sun-baked hard courts of Flushing Meadows, hearing the roar of an effusive, packed crowd on Court 11, and knowing that one single victory could rewrite the history books forever. For decades, the Philippines had waited for a tennis prodigy to break through the sport's ultimate glass ceiling. They waited for a homegrown talent to conquer the Grand Slam stage. But nobody expected that the answer to their prayers would come in the form of a fearless teenager with a lethal left-handed stroke. Welcome to the story of Alexandra Eala, the young phenomenon who didn't just knock on the door of tennis greatness. She completely kicked it off its hinges. On September 10th, 2022, the junior tennis world stood completely still. In a breathtaking display of power, precision, and unshakable mental fortitude, Alex Eala shocked the globe by capturing the U.S. Open Junior Girls Singles Championship. She dismantled the heavily favored number 2 seed, Lucie Havlickova of the Czech Republic, in a dominant straight-sets victory, 6-2, 6-4. But this wasn't just another tournament win. This was a tectonic shift in the landscape of global tennis. Before that defining Saturday in New York, no Filipino player, male or female, junior or professional, had ever hoisted a Grand Slam singles trophy. The magnitude of this achievement sent shockwaves far beyond the boroughs of New York City, echoing all the way back to the streets of Manila. Entering the tournament as a number 10 seed, Eala proved that elite tennis isn't exclusively reserved for traditional European or American powerhouses. She shattered expectations and proved that world-class talent can blossom in Southeast Asia. In this special documentary dive, we are going to unpack exactly how a 17-year-old rising star engineered the performance of a lifetime on one of the sport's most intimidating stages. We will break down the tactical brilliance she deployed to neutralize Havlickova, who had just won the Roland Garros junior singles and doubles championships a few months prior. We will explore the rigorous development that molded her into a Grand Slam powerhouse. And perhaps most importantly, we will analyze what this historic triumph means for the future of the WTA Tour and the next generation of athletes looking to follow in her footsteps. The pressure was suffocating. The stakes were unprecedented. Her opponent was undeniably one of the most dangerous junior players on the planet. But as the New York crowd settled into their seats for the championship clash, they were about to witness an absolute masterclass in composure. However, before Alexandra Eala could lift that iconic silver trophy and address her country, she had to survive a tactical war of attrition against an opponent who simply refused to back down. The real turning point of the match actually came much earlier than anyone realized. To truly understand the magnitude of what unfolded on the afternoon of September 10th, 2022, we first have to look at the sheer destruction Alexandra Eala left in her wake leading up to the championship match. The junior Grand Slam circuit is notoriously grueling. It is a minefield of unpredictable teenage prodigies, raging hormones, and overwhelming pressure. Most players scrape through early rounds, surviving 3-set marathons and fighting off crippling nerves. But Eala didn't just survive the U.S. Open draw. She absolutely bulldozed it. The 17-year-old sensation marched into the final without dropping a single set, not one. Across 6 grueling matches against the finest young players on earth, Eala was an impenetrable wall. She dismantled highly touted prospects like Australian 8-seed Taylor Preston and Russian prodigy Mira Andreeva. In the semifinals, she outlasted Canadian rising star Victoria Mboko in a tense tiebreak, showcasing a steely resolve that belied her teenage years. Eala wasn't just winning matches. She was sending a terrifying message to the rest of the field. However, waiting for her in the final was the ultimate final boss of junior tennis, Lucie Havlickova. The Czech powerhouse was a number 2 seed and the reigning French Open junior singles and doubles champion. Havlickova arrived in New York riding a tidal wave of momentum, boasting an imposing physical game, a thunderous serve, and an 11-match junior slam winning streak in singles. She was the overwhelming favorite, looking to become the first player to capture 2 junior Grand Slam singles trophies in a single season since Belinda Bencic pulled off defeat nearly a decade earlier. As the players walked onto Court 11 at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center, the contrast was immediately apparent. Havlickova had the imposing frame and the raw power, but Eala brought an entirely different arsenal. a punishing, left-handed baseline game honed at the prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain. When the chair umpire called play, the tension in the air was palpable. Everyone expected a heavy-hitting slugfest, and initially, Havlickova tried to impose her physical dominance. The real turning point, the moment that set the tone for the entire championship, happened in the crucial fourth game of the opening set. Havlickova relentlessly pushed Eala deep into court, earning the first break point of the match. For a fleeting second, it looked like the Czech favorite was about to take control and run away with the momentum. But Eala, displaying the ice-cold composure of a 10-year tour veteran, unleashed a blistering forehand winner straight down the line to save the break. It was a massive statement shot. It told Havlickova, "Your power does not intimidate me." That single, defiant strike completely unraveled the Czech champion. Frustrated by Eala's uncanny ability to absorb pace and redirect the ball, Havlickova began to overcook her shots. She proceeded to bury herself in a staggering 21 unforced errors in the first set alone. Eala remained ruthlessly consistent, exploiting the angles with her heavy lefty topspin and cruising to a dominant 6-2 first-set victory. But Grand Slam finals are rarely won without enduring a storm, and the storm arrived early in the second set. Eala struck first, breaking Havlickova immediately to open the second frame. She even held 3 points to consolidate the break and potentially run away with the championship. But the crushing weight of the moment suddenly materialized. 3 uncharacteristic double faults off Eala's racket provided a sudden lifeline, inviting Havlickova right back into the contest. The match immediately evolved into a spectacular, high-quality war of attrition. Havlickova finally dialed in her power, combining her immense pace with pinpoint accuracy. But Eala responded with sheer tactical brilliance. In what was undoubtedly the point of the match at a tense 2-2 deadlock, Eala orchestrated a mesmerizing sequence, a delicate drop shot, followed by a perfect lob, finished with a crushing forehand. Her ability to change direction effortlessly with her left-handed forehand continuously neutralized Havlickova's baseline aggression in extended rallies. The climax arrived with the scoreboard locked at 4-4 in the second set. The championship hung entirely in the balance. This was the moment where junior players typically crumble under bright lights, but Eala elevated her game to a championship standard, displaying incredible tactical awareness. She stepped well inside the baseline on the return of serve, suffocating Havlickova's reaction time. The intense pressure forced a double fault and a netted forehand from the Czech, handing Eala the crucial, decisive break. Serving for the championship at 5-4, Eala was just 4 points away from immortality. The packed crowd, heavily dominated by waving Philippine flags, held their collective breath. With surgical precision, she marched to double championship point. After a tense baseline exchange, Havlickova dumped a backhand into the bottom of the net. Game, set, match. 6-2, 6-4. The immediate aftermath was pure, unfiltered emotion. Eala unleashed a triumphant scream, dropped her racket to the unforgiving blue hardcourt, and covered her face as the tears of joy flowed freely. After sharing a warm embrace with Havlickova at the net, she sprinted toward the stands, falling into the arms of her parents, her brother, and her Rafa Nadal Academy coach. In one magnificent hour and 8 minutes of tennis, a 17-year-old girl had carried the dreams of over 100 million Filipinos across the finish line. But lifting the trophy was only the beginning of a much larger conversation. What this victory revealed about Eala's underlying statistics, her historical trajectory, and her rapidly developing transition to professional WTA circuit would stun analysts even more than the match itself. Few people notice one crucial detail about how she actually dismantles the world's best players, and the secret lies in the numbers. When expert analysts look back at the tape of the 2022 U.S. Open Junior Final, the raw statistics paint a picture of utter dominance that defies Alexandra Eala's age. The secret to her historic victory wasn't just hitting harder than her opponents. It was her astonishing efficiency, tactical discipline, and a tennis IQ that was years ahead of her peers. Against a massive server like Lucie Havlickova, whose first serve was clocking in at an intimidating 113 miles per hour, Eala managed to get a staggering 79% of her returns in play. She completely neutralized the Czech player's biggest weapon by refusing to retreat. Instead of backing up to absorb the pace, Eala boldly anchored herself tight to the baseline, taking the ball early and redirecting Havlikova's own power against her. Furthermore, Eala was absolutely lethal when it mattered most. She converted 100% of her breakpoint opportunities, going 4 for 4 in a championship match. Meanwhile, her relentless depth and heavy, left-handed topspin suffocated her opponent, forcing the reigning French Open champion into 39 total unforced errors for the match. Eala's run in New York was so remarkably efficient that she never spent more than an hour and a half on the court in any of her singles matches. To understand where this elite level of polish comes from, you have to look at the environment that forged her. Eala isn't just a product of natural talent. She is a masterclass in elite development. Leaving the Philippines at a young age, she relocated to Manacor, Spain, to train at the world-renowned Rafa Nadal Academy, under the watchful eyes of top-tier coaches, and surrounded by the relentless, grinding work ethic of Rafael Nadal himself. Eala developed a playing style that heavily mirrors the Spanish legend philosophy. Her left-handed game is built on controlled aggression. She doesn't just hit the ball over the net. She actively constructs points. Her forehand is her primary weapon, capable of opening up sharp, punishing angles that right-handed players struggle to defend, especially on their weaker backhand wing. But beyond her physical tools, the Academy instilled in her an unshakable mental toughness, a sheer refusal to panic when the scoreboard gets tight. But what makes her 2022 U.S. Open run even more fascinating is the context in which it happened. By the time Eala arrived in New York for the junior tournament, she had actually been competing primarily on professional women's circuit for nearly a year. She already knew exactly what it felt like to grind out wins against grown women, having claimed her first professional ITF title in Manacor at the astonishing age of 15. She had also tasted Grand Slam glory before. Eala already held 2 major trophies in doubles, capturing the 2020 Australian Open Junior Doubles title alongside Prisca Negroho and the 2021 French Open Junior Doubles crown with Oksana Selikmateva. Returning to the junior ranks for the U.S. Open was a calculated, precision strike. It was a golden opportunity to capture the elusive singles major that would cement her legacy as one of the greatest junior players of her era, and she executed that mission flawlessly. In the Philippines, a country where basketball and boxing have historically dominated the sporting landscape, tennis was often viewed as a niche pursuit. The nation lacked the grassroots infrastructure to consistently produce world-class talent. When Felix Barrientos reached the upper echelons of the junior rankings in the 1980s, it was considered a rare anomaly. Eala's rise to world number 2 in the junior rankings, culminating in this historic U.S. Open victory, shattered a multi-decade ceiling. It proved that a Filipino athlete, backed by the right resources and fueled by relentless dedication, could stand alone atop the tennis world. However, the transition from junior prodigy to professional contender is notoriously the most difficult leap in all of tennis. History is littered with junior Grand Slam champions who faded into obscurity, unable to handle the sheer physicality and cutthroat nature of the WTA Tour. But Alexandra Eala's game is built differently. Her baseline discipline, her supreme tactical awareness, and her early experience grinding through ITF professional events have insulated her against the typical pitfalls of teenage sensations. Yet, winning a junior Grand Slam puts a massive, glaring target on your back. The expectations from her home country are no longer just hopeful. They are astronomical. So what happens next? Because the real fight for Alexandra Eala is only just beginning. When Alexandra Eala held the U.S. Open Junior Trophy high above her head in 2022, the message sent to the Women's Tennis Association was loud and unequivocally clear. The WTA was officially on notice. But while many junior prodigies crack under the immense weight of early expectations, fading into the brutal realities of the professional circuit, Eala used New York as a launch pad. The bigger picture of this story isn't just about a teenager winning a junior tournament. It's about the birth of a genuine international superstar who actually delivered on the monumental hype. The transition from the junior ranks to the elite WTA Tour is historically a graveyard of unfulfilled potential. It requires a completely different level of physical endurance, tactical maturity, and mental fortitude to survive against seasoned professionals. Yet, Looking at the spectacular trajectory of her career since that defining afternoon in Flushing Meadows, Eala hasn't just survived the transition. She has completely taken the tour by storm. History will remember her 2022 U.S. Open Junior victory as the ultimate catalyst for one of the most meteoric rises in recent tennis memory. By 2025, she had engineered a historic professional breakthrough, becoming the first player from the Philippines to reach a massive WTA 1000 semifinal at the Miami Open. She shocked the tennis establishment by dismantling elite Grand Slam champions, proving that her game could translate to the absolute highest levels of the sport, and she refused to slow down. By August of 2026, at just 21 years old, Eala shattered another glass ceiling by capturing the Washington Open, a prestigious WTA 500 event, and rocketing to a career-high world ranking of number 20. She had officially transformed from a promising junior into a bona fide top-tier threat. But a balanced, objective assessment of her future outlook reveals that the hardest work still lies ahead. The summit of women's tennis is an unforgiving, week-to-week battleground. While her baseline discipline and heavy, left-handed topspin are undeniable weapons, sustaining a position among the elite demands constant evolution. Analysts note that Eala's serve, while highly reliable, still lacks the raw, overpowering speed of her biggest rivals. To push into the world's top 5, a milestone that legendary Hall of Fame coaches firmly believe she is capable of reaching, she will need to inject even more power into her initial strike and continue refining her physical conditioning to endure the grueling 10-month professional calendar. Nevertheless, what she has already accomplished entirely transcends the sport. She has permanently redrawn the map of global tennis. For generations, young athletes in Southeast Asia were told that conquering the Grand Slam stages was a pipe dream reserved for traditional powerhouses. Alexandra Eala dismantled that myth with every swing of her racket. Every time she steps onto court, she carries the pride of over 100 million Filipinos who finally have a homegrown champion contending on the sport's most glamorous stages. The story of Alexandra Eala is far from over. In fact, her prime years are only just beginning. As she sets her crosshairs on capturing a professional Grand Slam singles title, the entire tennis world will be watching her every move. Will she become the first Filipino to lift a major trophy on the WTA Tour? Can she defy the odds once again and climb all the way to world number 1? Only time will tell. But one thing is absolutely certain. You do not want to miss the next chapter of this incredible journey. If you want to follow Alexandra Eala's continued rise and stay updated on the most compelling documentaries in the world of sports, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below on how many professional Grand Slams you think she will win, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.